this is going to be day 2. We'll spend a little bit of time up here going through some of the stuff. And then, all you guys are seasoned vets, aren't you? Big 7'4".
Yeah, he's probably the youngest.
He's the youngest with 2 years, right?
2? Which section of line you work?
2 years on one.
Really?
Yeah, it was on.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Alright, never mind.
So good. At least 2 sessions having some fun. Which section of line you work? Packaging end or?
Yeah. Like the winder and robot.
Alright, so some of the stuff we'll cover, like I said, I don't know if you guys do a lot of process and shift audits here. Anybody come from down the hill? You remember the shift audits they did down there? So that's where like Keith or one of the quality guys will come out and watch you guys performing a test, or probably watching in the lab, which you guys are going to do, just to ensure you guys are doing it right, that kind of thing, periodically. So I know that's not something you guys do. But the QA bonus, we'll go into a little more in depth than that. We'll give you guys a better understanding of what we're doing down the hill and how we generate those numbers to qualify you guys for your quality bonus. Warehouse audits, that's something we tried to kick off last year. Same with the other stuff. It doesn't really apply as much with TPO. Right? So we do it in the shingle world, we do it in mod bid, because most of those products have attributes that diminish over time. So what they'll do on a quarterly basis is they'll go out and actually pull rolls out of the warehouse, put it through the full testing again to see what's what. With you guys, the only attribute that drops off for you guys is tears. Machine direction is always your concern. Cross direction usually hardly ever have any issue with. But everything else holds up. Even your SA product, the glue that you're putting on the back of that, it doesn't tail off like mod bid does. After a while, we got a study going, and the adhesion started up here, and then they started steadily dropping off, and then they will plateau, but it's definitely got time. And then we'll go through. I'll give you guys a run through of this QS&C audit. That's the big audit we do. Last year, you guys were self-audited, which means TJ just filled out an audit form, turned in the numbers, and then this year, New Columbia and Cedar City are doing the self-audit. Here in Gainesville's doing the actual audit. So I'll be your auditor this year, along with my boss. I don't know if you guys have ever met Josh Wilson. You've probably seen him around. If you saw him, you'd recognize him more likely. He's made it to the morning sessions this afternoon. He kind of booked up. But we'll be your auditors for this year, and then I think it's me and Gray that are going to do Gainesville. We'll touch on the SBC basics. Won't get in depth in that. This is not a math class. I'm not a mathematician. We do have a individual on our staff in the quality assurance world. His name's Kerry Stone. I don't know if you guys have met him or taken any classes from him in the past, but he used to work for a company called QualPro that basically it was a software system that showed you how to do multiple variable trials and then how to analyze that data. So this guy, he can crunch numbers any which way you want them to be crunched. But like I said, you guys luckily are using SBC here. I understand you're not using BrainCube anymore though. So that usually feeds into it. But 3 of our TPO plants are not using an SBC, they're using a different program. Keep on getting used to that myself.
What are they using? What are they using?
So Brandon's the Cedar City tech. Brandon came up with a program in Tableau. The Tableau he's using, or TrackView, Tableau. One of those two, TrackView or Tableau, I can pull it up. But it's essentially the same thing, So on a quarterly basis, I do a CDK review with all the tech managers, and that's just seeing how repeatable some of your tests are out there. And that's how we kind of stumble on the encapsulated edge being a problem for everybody. So there's just certain attributes, I just take it off the global spec, we don't go into the long-term aging, weather-armor stuff, it's just the basic stuff, length, width, thickness, encapsulated edge, stuff like that. And we look and see how repeatable you guys are with that. Well, he developed this little program in there that kind of mimics SPC and gives me all those attributes with the math behind them, and then gives me a nice chart at the bottom of it. So we got Cedar, New Columbia, and Valdosta is on that program. Originally, Valdosta said they were going to go with SBC. TJ worked to get them set up, just like you guys, and they kind of flopped over and went with this new program. It gives us the same information. It's just when I go look at data now, I got to go to two different places. Whether if everybody's using SBC, I can just change the plant number and keep on rolling with it. There's some other functionality I think it loses, especially when you guys are starting to get towards one of your action limits and you make an adjustment. There's no way to capture why you made that adjustment in that program, so that's one of the hang-ups with it. Alright, so that's the first thing I got. Alright, your QA bonus. Alright, so this is how you guys and all the TPO plants have been doing for the year 2024, which pretty much looks like what you guys did in 2023. So in 23, you guys were sending us full rolls of product every month, pretty much everything you made. We were putting it through the full testing, which was taxing on Tim and the guys in the lab. We were running out of oven space, weathermometers running, a lot of stuff. So after that year, I went back to my boss and then our boss's boss and said, listen, we've done this testing for a year. The data shows us what we already do. The TPO has good numbers. They make a good quality product. They're using engineered resins. We got good suppliers for our concentrates. And the lines are fairly well controlled. So they agreed that we would back it down to just what we consider quality metrics testing, which is just this subset of tests that we do. Right? So we do the roll weight. The way we do roll weight is we'll cut out 12 by 12 square, right? And we weigh that, and then we get pounds per square feet, and then extrapolate that out by how long and how wide the roll is. Ply adhesion, we did that yesterday. That was when we stuck it on the instrument, pulled it apart. Surface defects, it's pretty straightforward there. Seeing anything in that, we'll run through the troubleshooting guide. Measured on the microscope, cap above scrim, and then edge encapsulation. So again, you guys saw your numbers. You're still at 100%. All the plants are basically at 100%. So the talk is maybe in 25, we don't do this testing anymore. We go back to the way we used to do it on a quarterly basis is test your product. And then we just use those CPK numbers to generate this kind of data. As long as you guys have good CPK numbers, then you still qualify for your quality bonus. They're floating it for the ISO world right now, and then we're right behind that. So if they agree with ISO, I don't think it'll be too heavy of a lift to transition you guys to the same thing. Which kind of helps us out because there's a number of third-party suppliers that make product for us, right? And we did not realize how extensive that list was. So, with Meldrin coming on as the director of supplier quality, he's working with those guys, some of the purchasing folks, getting us a list of all the third-party manufactured products, and then they'll figure out which lab they need to go to. So there's 3 labs just like ours, right? We handle mod bid, TPO, PVC, and injection molding. There's one out in Phoenix that handles coatings, and then there's one in Ennis, Texas, at the Ennis plant that handles the shingle and the asphalt products that we don't handle. So we're not sure what's going to be coming at us. So if we could alleviate some of this kind of testing, it'll give us some more time to be able to do the other stuff. All right. Big audit. Okay, so this is the QS&C audit, right? This is like a 2.5, almost a 3-day audit. There's multiple questions, multiple sections in it, and this is how you guys scored last year. You guys are second from the bottom, so 83. And what got you guys was this section here, and I believe that's the section. So last year, every year we revise this audit, right? And we add a new question in. When we add a new question in, usually we don't score it for the first year, giving everybody time to kind of get acclimated to it. So the question we entered last year for this audit was about getting you guys to the job sites, having the sales folks come in, give you the true feedback, the voice of the customer, whether it be through a survey or literally bringing them on site, sitting down for lunch or something, telling you how great or how terrible you're doing, that kind of thing. So last year, you guys were self-audited, and so was Gainesville. And both TJ and Pete scored themselves accurately because they didn't participate in the program really, so they knocked themselves down when they should have given themselves 100%, just because we don't score it for that year. But this year, like I said, you guys will be audited by the outside consultant Gainesville, and the other two go to the self-audit. Here is, right, so this is the actual audit itself, right? So you can see how many tabs are across the bottom of this thing, right? Now, the first three is just the summary. Second one, just put that in charts, and then this one is a SWOT analysis. So you go over your strengths, your opportunities, weaknesses, and threats that we figured out through the audit, and then we start into the audit, right? So each section's got multiple questions in it. Anything you see in red is a question that we've either changed or added to. But for you guys, I know you guys don't get a lot of experience with the big audit, I guess, but you do participate in this side of it. So I don't know, in the past when you guys were audited, if they pulled a few of you off the floor and started asking you some of these questions, right? So it used to be called operator feedback. Earlier this year, we thought we'd try to incorporate force into it, so we changed it to force communication. Still has a lot of the operator feedback questions in it. And what we do, we try to grab people at different stages of their career. So, what's the Reese? Race. Like he's been here 4 months, so he would be a candidate. You being here 2 years would be a candidate for the newer. And then we try to get somebody in the 8 to 10 year range if you guys got them, and then we want somebody that's closer to 20 to 24 years. And it's amazing the different answers we get to the different questions based on how long you've been here and what your experiences are. Right? So one of the questions is about force on here. And when we did the shingle audit down the hill about a month ago, we got 3 drastically different answers. So we had a guy that had been there about the same time as Reese, and then an 8-year vet, and then what's his name? Race. And then we got somebody that was a 20-year that was a lead person. So like I said, these are some of the questions you could be pulled in and asked. So like that one, for instance, what do you guys do if products out of spec? What do you do if you I don't know, take a thickness strip, you're running 45 mil, all of a sudden you're at 40 mil average? What would you guys do?
Retest it.
Right. And if the retest still proves the same, that you're out.
Change the line speed, gauge factor, and try to figure out, get a hold of somebody above me, figure out what you want to do with the material that's been ran.
Probably segregated until I got a decision on it. So same deal, what would you do if your test equipment doesn't work? I know you got some redundancies down there. He's got 2 or 3 thickness scales. I don't know if you got any other thickness gauges like on the line or anything other than the NDC. Like some of the plants, especially the asphalt plants, they have a central lab, and then each of the, like downstairs or down the hill, the shingle line has another little testing thing where they do like their rub loss, they'll do a thickness. The mod big guys can do the same thing. And so if their equipment breaks down, then there's always the shingle line, or they can go to the QA lab, or last, worst case scenario, they'll have to come use our equipment. We try to kind of hold on to our equipment because, some folks are kind of rough on things. We keep some guys out there by our clicker press, and we've had a few sacrificed here lately. I don't know if he was an intern or what he was next door, summer help. I walked by, he was using our press, he said his was down, which was not a big deal. I come back by, and he's got the wood in his hand from the die, but all the little metal things are still stuck in my plastic lid over there, and he didn't know what to do. So he had to, obviously had to temper the pressure way too high for what he's trying to do. And then that's another one there. So for that, when you guys hear this question, what are the main quality objectives for your plan? And how do you know if they're being met or not? What do you guys think? How would you guys answer that? Just the first part. What are the quality objectives for Mount Vernon TPO?
Simple answer is just that everything's running in spec.
Right. I mean, you guys have any targets like scrap or rework, first pass yield?
Yeah, I mean we see first pass yield like when we do our our quarterly meetings over our bonuses and stuff like that.
What about the boards down there? The SQCCE boards?
Yeah.
You guys,
For the upper management type deal.
the guys this morning said that. So what does that mean? Just like TJ and those guys go out and look at it?
Yeah, TJ, Jordan, which is the late star, the supervisor down here, John.
It's meant for everybody, but
Yeah,
It's
on that side, it feels like it's more aimed at.
yeah, them.
it's one of the things that like I want to work on a little bit because it's not really taken off on the production side as far as meetings being held down there. It's
What it started at the very beginning, they're all about our input. And it was up there, and then all of a sudden it just flip-flopped, and now it's what they need to see versus what we really need to see.
Yeah, half of us don't even know what we're looking at before down there,
And that's what I heard this morning too.
Yeah, about like 6:30, Brad will come in here and write stuff on there for the little meeting that they have around the board at 8 to 10. So we literally don't have anything on.
Like in the beginning, were you guys actually put numbers and plot and
Yeah,
stuff?
when we first started, it was like,
But they do hold a meeting in front of it, but you guys aren't participating in it?
yeah, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. They have meetings with
Sometimes I'll show up at it.
department heads.
Just depends on what I got going on.
Yeah, so what is your structure? You guys have, like, Brad, your production manager, I guess would
Well,
be
he's hourly. Brad is just the lead shift tech.
Oh, yeah, Jordan, I'm sorry.
So Jordan's the production manager now,
Right,
and then heads the warehouse manager.
yeah.
yeah, Jordan, Brad, and then Brad's over all the shift techs, and the shift techs are over all the other employees.
Okay, so that's kind of like a supervisor lead man situation.
Yeah.
Type, right?
Like
Okay.
shift lead down the hill down there, they get a shift lead and get a supervisor.
Yeah,
But each shift has a supervisor down here, we've only got one supervisor up here. The
okay.
shift leads act at, on the off shift act as supervisor.
They're in charge of the
Yeah.
plan. I got you. Okay.
Our shift act.
This place was started as like a what they call it
So
a self-motivated workforce. So like the off shifts didn't have supervision, still don't. So it's where it's kind of expected to be able to control things on our own.
Yeah, I worked in a place like that. We ended up putting in a night shift superintendent. He's a good guy, but it was definitely needed, and it's not like it stopped those midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning phone calls to us, but at least we had somebody to plan. Hey, go get, what's the guy's name now? Rick. Where's Rick at? What's going on? All that kind of thing. Like I said, I wasn't sure how your structure worked out.
Yeah.
So what would you guys think? What would benefit you guys more? Like if you were participating the 8 o'clock, or if we went back to more have you guys enter some data up there? Or what would you guys wanna see different on
I'm hoping to get to a point where we have every crew should have like a shift meeting anyway, and then trying to have that up there and incorporate that more into it again.
that? Okay.
That's the long term plan.
I've seen that in some of the other.
Yeah,
TPO
you have
plans.
Yeah.
So that's what I want.
I don't know if they still do them down there, but I've always thought the shingle plant had kind of a good pre-ship meeting type deal. It lets you know what happened on the ship before and what to expect, you know.
Yeah, and so ever since COVID, they started bringing them, I think the shingle line goes to that upstairs meeting room, and then mod bid goes, they built that tower back there by mod bid, and I think they utilize a lot of the floor of that. Because it's so noisy, you know, you gotta get them off the floor. But you guys could actually have your meeting in front of the board.
Yeah. And we've never had pre-shift meetings up here either. It's always been, like, before COVID, we had a form we filled out, everybody met the winder, and, but what that turned into a lot of times is just, you go up there and read it and sign your name or whatever, like, there's a document at least that told you what happened on different shifts, like, give you an idea of what was going on without having a meeting.
That's like, yeah, I've worked at other places that kept, what they call them journals going
Yeah.
for each department, you know, and you come in and, you know, some guys would be, they give you a lot of information and then other guys would not, you know.
Right.
It's hit and miss there.
Some of them are, some of them are ready to get out of here.
Exactly, you know.
It's running, I'm out of here.
And one of the places I worked at, it was a print shop, and I worked in the ink lab, and some of the ink techs would be very detailed and other ones wouldn't. You know, and you go back to change a barrel out, and you realize that the pump ain't working, and then the barrel's full, but the, you know, pump's clogged, and you start looking through the journal, and there's no mention of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys like the same thing.
Yep. Ran good all night.
Yeah. I don't know, it worked for me. So other stuff like that, you know, where do you find your test methods? And I'll ask you guys this question here. So, and I asked it in the front class, what is the difference between a spec limit and a, what we call a control limit or action limit? You guys see that chart, what's that mean to you guys? What's the difference?
Spec limit is, where it's acceptable to sell, and control limit is if it gets out of there, that's where you can make your adjustments.
Everybody know that answer? You know the new guy?
Yeah, man, I used to work at the pharmaceutical joint across the street, so I know all about.
Oh, okay. Were you there
Some
when
different stuff.
Were you there when it was Bristol or?
No, 2019.
Okay. AstraZeneca?
Yeah, it's real similar rules as far as all the process that goes to the doctor. It's something different.
Yeah, you got the FDA involved and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, my mom worked at the B. Johnson plant there on St. Joe for like 33 years. I got to tour this one up here a few times when it was still Bristol.
It's trips way different.
So that's the question we had in this year, you know, about those SQCC boards. You know, when we ask you guys these questions, just be as honest as you are with me in here, you know, because this is the kind of stuff that not just we need to know about, but you know, when we have this final report out of these audits, we bring in John and TJ and some of those folks. We bring in Randy. We bring in who's your guy? Oh man, let's see his face.
Talking about maintenance or?
No, we bring in the executive leadership team. Like we bring in Marjorie and some of those other guys.
Sort of the last name starts with an R, right?
Yeah. And I can see his
It's
face.
It's an odd last name, I think.
Anyway, that guy.
Yeah, the guy above John, the TPO, the guy took over for Doug.
Oh,
Weederquist.
No, that's not see that.
Leader Chris will bring in too. He's
Yeah.
on Politics, but we go a level above that too.
Oh, very nice.
Let's call Bill.
Yeah, building.
So, when we bring those guys in, and you know, they're very interested. One, it's how your plant scored, obviously, you know, compared to how you did last year. But these kind of operator feedback or force communications, that's what they're very interested in because they need to know if the programs that they think are in place that are working good are actually getting down to the people it needs to get to, which is you guys, you know. Like I said, you know, you got, it seems like a GBS job, so everybody's taking their turn at it, so hopefully you stick in there for a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, when I met Jordan, when I first met Jordan, we were taking trials on the SA line out there. The third line wasn't even in place, and he was an operator. Then I ran into him in Valdosta, and he'd been moved to the GBS job. And then I come back up here, and he left the GBS job, and now he's your production manager.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I always love to see people advance, you know. But, and then you had the engineer guy. He took the global GBS job.
Yeah, Tyra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
John. I saw him last week. What was the other one?
Yeah. I'm good.
So this that other one right there, number 10. You know, where you guys involved in any process improvements and they're communicated to you. So that's kind of talking about if you guys recognize something on the floor, put in a force suggestion, or talk to your supervisor, or however your protocol set up here. And then do they close the loop with you? Is something going on? Because you know you guys are the experts at what happens out there on that floor. You guys are here nights, weekends. You know we're home with our families. I'd be silly to think that just because I worked at a compounder 20 years ago and understand twin screws, that I know that line better than you guys do. Because you're going to see way more TPO than I'll ever see in my lifetime. So that's the stuff we definitely need input for. But you know, it also has to go the other way, where management needs to close that loop and get back with you guys on it. Because I've been, you know, I was an hourly worker at one time in my career, and I remember making suggestions to upper management about certain fixes and stuff. And, you know, you make 2 or 3 suggestions, and nobody says anything, nobody does anything about it, and you just go, good luck to you, and breaks are breaks, you know. And that's definitely what we do not want. And I think force is pretty, it seems like it's pretty well laid out up here, from the feedback I've been hearing from everybody. I haven't looked at your force numbers or anything, but it seems like it's working pretty well for you guys. And then that one right there, you know, do you guys feel the force inputs are being followed up on? Yeah. So like I said, that's the big key to continuing to make this program work, is if they close the loop. You know, it'd be one thing if you get out there and you say, you know, John, I'd really like if we had an Olympic-sized swimming pool outside so we could jump on the ball. You know, it's kind of far-fetched, but you come up with something that saves time on a roll splice or something that's going to actually, you know, benefit production and make things more efficient, more safe, make a better quality product. You know, like I said, if you don't get that feedback coming back to you guys saying yay or nay, we're going to do it, or why we didn't do it, you know, it needs to continue on. It seems like up here it's pretty well accepted. It's moving. But when we ask that question to those 3 individuals, so the new guy didn't know anything. You know, like I said, he's been there maybe 4 months. The mid-term operator, and this is usually the way things go. He had put in a force suggestion to put a safety mirror up as he's exiting a little workstation. He said they never got back to him, but they did put the mirror up, but they didn't put it up in the right place, so it's not doing him any good where it's at, right? So he's got a bad taste in his mouth from it. And then the last guy was actually a lead person who had used force pretty extensively and had gotten some things done, you know. And it's like anything else, survey, you know, let's say you get a bad mid-year review, and then the next week they send out a survey, well, you know, what's fresh in your mind, you know what I mean? All right. So SPC basics. So do you guys ever come to the main GAF page, the operations page like this one? Or do you guys usually just use your TPO website thing?
I'd say people go to it when they're just playing around.
And so I encourage you guys to go there because Tim, who stepped out to take a phone call, just generated this website to come up with, right? And so, where do you get to it? So you come to our site, that's our, you know, the corporate quality assurance stuff. This guy, that's my boss right there. I don't know if you guys have seen Josh, he usually has a beard.
Did you do a video?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We call it this the great video.
Oh yeah.
And what's the rest of those out here?
Gosh, I can see Joey's little rocket child.
So those are those guys you probably won't see. There's Kerry Stone. That's the guy I was talking about doing all the, static fishing. Very, very good at that stuff. That's the Ennis team. So it's ran by a guy named Kevin Carr. Those are his decks. Funny thing about Kevin, you look at that picture of him right there. How big a fellow do you think he'd be? Right?
It looks like offensive lineman.
Don't guess he's not 6'5". He looks huge.
He is. So he's a former Notre Dame offensive line.
Okay.
So when we do these video calls, he's on a little bitty screen, and I thought maybe he's about my height, kind of chubby or something. And we went down to Ennis to do some training, or probably to go through the audit. And I'd never seen Kevin in person, and we couldn't get in the front door, so we're texting him, hey, can you come get us? He opened that door and filled it up. I mean, he was a second stringer at Notre Dame. He played a lot of special teams and stuff like that. But the guy he backed up, I think, is still on the Cowboys' offensive line. Pretty sure.
What was his name? What was his name?
Okay, so this is the new supplier quality team they put together. I want Jordan to have a picture of it. So this is what I was talking about, it says residential. This is the coatings team here. So Jerry's me for coatings, and then these are the three techs that work for him over there. And then lastly, here we are. So you guys probably know this guy right here, right? This guy here sitting next to everybody. And Dylan, who's our newest one. Did he sit in this session yesterday? Yeah. So he's under this guy. Alright, so anyway, you come to our site, and you go to the quality training. We're clearly commercial. And then we come up with a roadmap, right? And this here's the quality. You guys have seen that, the delivered quality, and then you clearly have seen this a bunch. And so, Tim, we got sitting right there, just developed this website for everybody to use, right? And so what we've done is we actually broke it down by the position you guys hold, right? So for frontline operators in TPO, first 6 months, you should obviously go through a general onboarding and the safety side of things, right? And then our introduction to Polka. You guys use a Polka?
I think but
We're starting to,
yeah.
And then roles and responsibilities.
That might have had a lot to do with the whole changing of positions though. So you had like Tyra and Jordan and nobody, like all of them, like a 3 or 4 month period.
Yeah.
So it started, but then it kind of,
As
as
people
people
left.
got faded away.
It's a pretty good tool, really. If you guys have seen any of the videos, it basically takes a task you're already doing, and then it just breaks it down in video form. Which, back in the day when you went to fix your car, you got a Chilton's manual, you read through it, and you did what you had to do. Nowadays, you get on YouTube, and then it gives you a breakdown. So Polka's kind of that same scenario there. And then from 6 months to a year, we felt like that they should be able to go through the SBC basics, the internal and external audits, and 6 months and beyond. Do this right here, which is Josh alluded to me today. This is actually what we're doing now. So you guys got that one off of it. We did a little mock installation. We didn't screw down the ISO board. We didn't put vapor barrier down. But you guys understood the concept of that, and at least got your hands on the welder to kind of see what the guys on the roof were dealing with from time to time. So I pull this up is because of the SBC basics, right? And you guys know that lady going forward, you're ready training from her.
She was here one time, or I can't remember what the training was.
She just held a Kaizen event down the hill for Polka. She's part of your GBS team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lauren does a great job with all her trainings. We used to go down to Addison, and she would provide like a KT training and some other stuff.
That's what it was like up there, the KT training.
Yeah. And then it goes through and talks about process variation, and then the role they apply to SBC. My main focus on SBC, especially for you guys, is you understand the difference between action and control, or action or control limits and the spec limits. And then what do you do when it gets to close to one or the other? But what we don't want. All right, let's say your upper and lower spec limits are out here, right? This is your control limits, your action limits, right? If you're running along and it doesn't have its outlier, if you're running along, it's just bouncing back and forth, let it go, all right? What we gleaned from one of the gentlemen down the hill was when it was making that move up, then he was controlling it to bring it back down, right? He was constantly over controlling his process and not letting it run and be smooth. And then you chase your tail for 8, 10, 12 hours a night, more than likely cause issues from anything downstream or upstream from your line. So, like I said, as long as we're inside the action limits and we don't show a trend or 3 or 4 or 7 points going up to or down to an action limit, let it alone, right? Don't keep monkeying with it. So, like I said, that to me, if you guys have that understanding of the difference between action and spec limits, then you grasp the SBC, for your working purposes, basically. I don't know what your degree's in, Keith, but I got a business degree from Oakland City, so I'm no statistician. I use data, I can analyze it, but I don't get too in depth with any of it. And we don't expect anybody, other than Kerry Stone, maybe, to do that. All right, so I don't know if you guys have seen this thing before or not, or maybe you were in on generating some of it. So the last section, or the last thing we'll do today, is walk the line, right? And we'll hit all the key spots. And I did not put unwind station in there, but I put that in there. And just talking through what kind of potential problems you would have, like if you're back in the you're back in the materials room, and if it gets changed mag, super sack out, right? You start starving on mag. Well, what's that do to your product? Talk through those different things. Same thing, the unwind station, cap and core cap. I learned some stuff this morning on my walkthrough about your line. I never did. I've been coming up here for a while. I didn't know you didn't have an NDC on your core. And I didn't know you didn't have an auto dial on your core. I guess I never paid attention or looked close enough. I just assumed you had one, which you don't. Now, even though the guys down at Valdosta do have the auto dies, they're new to the process, so they were making manual adjustments like you do with the core, and kind of sometimes over controlling their process and getting a little out of whack or getting sideways. So, have you guys ever seen this thing before? This troubleshooting workmanship guide thing? Alright. I think it's pretty handy, especially for new operators, right? So these are all the things that it covers. And what it does, it goes through and talks about this one up there, not including this document, that's right. So you guys know where you expect that. Well, like banana curl, for instance, right? So it goes through, for each of these causes, it talks about what the common cause may be for banana curl, and then which section of the line you need to go check and see. So, and then when you try to get an illustration, it's kind of hard to show banana curl and that thing's, how long it is there. That's not here, right? That looks like cedar, maybe. One of the other, have you guys ever been to the other TPO points, by the way?
I've been to Gainesville.
You're the only one. You ever traveled around? Well, you
Yeah, I will be coming up. Haven't yet.
You get out on the road. And then, like blocking, some of the stuff to do with that. We don't have an illustration for it. The chopping, and what I like about some of this stuff is it actually shows you, illustrations of what it is. So to me, I know these first two, to me, there's more wrinkles in the sheet. But when I see that picture right there, that looks like chopping to me. I don't know if that's how you guys interpret that as well. You know, like I said, the TJ and the other tech managers went together to generate this. I heard from him this morning that the majority of the pictures were taken at this plant. Clearly that one with the rollout wasn't here. I'm pretty sure that's Cedar City. We had some banana pearl struggles down there also. Same thing with color streaks. So, you saw this at the winery. What would you do?
Kill it.
What do you think causes that?
Material not dispersing properly across the whole sheet. Yes.
Close. You're starting with TiO2 right there is what's causing that. So your white's dropping
Is that one on a roof?
out.
Is that picture of something that's already been installed?
I don't know, it looks like it, I think it is.
Looks like that's on the roof.
I think it might have been from a complaint of,
That's not for this room.
no, I don't remember which plant it comes from, but yeah, that was already installed on the job. You know, clearly, it's still waterproof. You're not gonna get the reflectivity, especially in those lanes, that you're gonna get for the rest of it.
That's like how they're like, hell yeah, let's put it on. That's good.
Well, that's the other part of it, you know, you roll that thing out, it's clearly in the middle of the field there, right?
Yep.
So, what's on the right and left of it don't match that. I don't know that I would put the welder on that myself, but these guys are probably paid by the square foot
Oh,
or
yeah.
something over there, and they wanna get the roof down. What else we got? Oh, the laminated edge. I don't know how you guys fight that one right there. That's a much better example of it. Because that scrams exposed there. Is that something that happens commonly around here?
Startups, you know, we get everything lined up.
It seems like we have more than 45 mil than anything else, but other than that, it doesn't happen very often.
So I ain't gonna look at the answers up there. What causes that? Like, 45 mil. So clearly it's a thinner sheet. And I know that sometimes the melt doesn't get all the way out to the edges like it should. But is it the calendar roll situation that's not causing that to laminate right? Or?
It'd be too thin, material's too thin, not thick enough, calendar rolls.
Those edges are thin and you're thick all the way across the sheet, and that's thinner than the calendar roll isn't gonna be able to hit.
It's
Squeeze
hitting
it
that
down.
outside. Okay. That makes sense.
It's putting pressure on it to push it together, stick it together.
That's our.
So edge curl, and that's why I said, like yesterday, even though you guys only welded, maybe a 3-foot section at most, you can see how something like that right there would cause issue when you get on the roof trying to weld that thing. And, you know, we had enough problems with just the curvature of the sheet itself because it was wound in that roll. At least getting the welder up on there and getting it started. Every class struggled with it.
So how long do the roofers have to let it relax before they're supposed to weld it?
I don't know the true. There's a thing out there, but it's at least got to sit up there an hour, you know, and let the UV get in there and try to relax that sheet out. You know, that's kind of one of the quickest answers we usually get back from warranty when they see something like that. And the customer complains, well, we'll just leave it out there and let it relax a little bit longer. You know? But sometimes it don't. You know, if you got tension issues, you're winding one side tighter than the other side, and all of a sudden you roll it out. Well, one side is going to roll out nice, and the other side is going to look like that because you know how it goes. Which one's this one? Oh, it's smoke screen. Yeah, you guys know that's a big thing, right? Folded edges. I don't know if this is something that's common. Would that be because of like the heat tunnel?
Well, that's
No,
all.
that's caused from putting the rolls in.
Yeah, that's all RB scrap there. That's just
Yeah.
from where someone was loading it in and drug it on a roll or whatever. And
Drag on the roll below it. And then
Okay, I'm
fold
with
it.
you. I'm with you. Okay.
so like the
That
way
was
we,
done during the process of making the roll.
yeah, the way we load them on the trailers, you know, we stack them like a pyramid stack. So if you drag one across there, I guess it,
Now, they could see from putting the bag on.
yeah.
for one or two layers, it may roll back.
Yeah, nothing like
I
that.
see that.
There's not enough silicone in there or something
Yeah.
that does,
Catches and scrappy. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Load it on the trailer. Gauge bands? What is that? What is gauge bands? What am I looking at?
You'll see like a strip. It could be
see how it's like flat and it pumps up.
yeah. You also have like a raised area of the sheet.
So the gray, the darker gray stuff would be
Well,
raised.
yeah, right there is where it starts to raise up. You look at the top line of the roll. See how it starts to raise right around there just a little bit?
Yeah,
It's
okay.
flat and then it raises up just a hump on the end.
Okay.
It'll be a lump.
We call it
like a
gauge.
bolt, but then big.
Gauge band? Where'd that term come from?
Did you
Boy,
name
pockets.
pockets?
I don't know, that's just what they started calling them, I don't know if that's a.
Then we had tin can wrinkle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can wrinkle. Okay.
So yeah, that's not a very good picture of a gauge band. I mean, kind of tells you.
Yeah, it can happen anywhere in the sheet too, not just on the edges.
Oh,
It
really?
could be in the middle, the sides.
It's basically just one section, it's a little bit thicker than the other one, and as the roll keeps on wrapping, wrapping, it just kinda got a hump. and-
Alright, now I get it. Alright, I can see that. Boss lines, this is usually not something we're gonna reject, but it could get you a phone call, you know. So, the sun has to be hitting that thing just right for you to see that gloss line across there. And that's the other thing, you know, especially as we take on new contractors that never seen our product before, you know, they can roll it down at high noon when the sun's directly over, you never see that. If they come in the next morning and go finish the job, and the sun's over here kind of shooting across it, you know, it definitely causes some reason for questioning. And again, still good product, still watertight, but, you know, it could get us a phone call too. Doubt if we would not approve anything because we don't warranty to surface appearance things. I mean, unless it's clear it's got a hole in it, it's got dye drool or something, you know, wrong with the sheet that's gonna cause reflectivity. Something like that we would not. And that comes off a calendar roll? Is that what usually causes that? Because the calendar roll is the way I understand it's supposed to put like a matte finish on there. Then as you run, those little indentions kind of build up in the product and it makes it shiny and smooth. You guys gotta wipe the calendar roll down every so often.
What? Because if we have a shiny spot like that, it's like where it's thinner, right? I mean,
Sometimes, but also it
Be
is the
30
calendar
on the roll.
roll. Because if you go up there and look at the calendar roll, you may see exactly where it is.
yeah.
You can see a little more.
And we saw something like that in Valdosta. And they went to clean the calendar roll and it made it worse.
Well, and that's what we found out. We've switched numerous products cleaning the calendar rolls. And we haven't found a real solid solution yet.
It's one of the things. It seems like it's gotten worse over time too. Because years ago it wasn't that big of a problem, and then now it's like an RV. Like was it we got off of Almond before we shut down? Like we had to clean those rolls a lot, like on startup day, because it just crap got in the embossing.
I can see that. And, you know, they could be putting more anti-block or wax in the product that's migrating to the surface and,
Yeah.
you know, transferring to that calendar roll, stuff like that. I know it's really seen, you guys don't run dark bronze here, but you do run slate gray, right? You definitely see stuff like that in a darker color. Have you guys ever ran dark bronze or seen it?
I think we ran
Yeah.
it before.
We did some job up at Terre Haute. Or no, Bloomington.
Yeah, we ran it just a couple years ago. Sometimes it's fun too.
Cedar runs the majority of it right now. That's one of the things that they're fighting right now is that you had that look with that dark bronze and that streak right there would be a totally different color than the rest of the sheet. Like I said, it'll show up a little bit of the darker color.
Like you go to wipe the counter rolls, you even just see like the white marks.
That's what we saw.
Yeah, we had that sometimes.
And we saw it, we could see it on there, we could see it on the sheet as it was exiting and going up. Or not going up, when it was coming, they got a whole weird setup. It goes up and then comes down. I mean, you're talking about 500-foot line. But we could could see it, so we pulled a couple rolls off, we kicked them out inside the plant, could see it inside the plant. I said, well, what's the contractor gonna see? So we pulled it outside, couldn't see it. Holes, and really self-explanatory there. They're making a watertight product, you can't have holes in it. And then they go again with the lay flat. That, to me, that's more of an example of a line retention issue there. Even in the center, I guess, maybe you have some tension issues. Here's the one that everybody argues about. I don't know how many debates you guys have about this on a daily, weekly basis, but there is actually a spec around this pitting, right? You're not supposed to have so many pits within a certain area on the sheet. But still, it's clearly a subjective visual guide to reject or not to reject material. So, I think you guys have some guide sheets down there now. Did he give you guys some sheets?
Yeah, little bitty samples.
Yeah. You know, the problem with this is, again, when they get that on the roof and the sun's directly overhead, you're not gonna see pitting standing this far up with that light shining off of it. But we clearly don't want it. You know what causes it?
What's that?
Pitting?
Uh,
One of the major culprits of it?
Just some kind of air bubbles on it. Yes. Excess gas that doesn't.
I was gonna see if he's gonna pick that up or not. That's it.
Trying not to poke that, but.
No, you're right. And so that's, you know, that's where your vacuum, you know, it may be showing you're pulling vacuum, but as your pressure's changing there, that window of vacuum expands and contracts. So you could be showing that you're pulling vacuum, but your pressure is so high that you're pulling vacuum out of a spot that big, you should be pulling out about a 2-foot spot or something. So it's just not getting all the volatiles off of it, and you know, it causes bubbles to pop. 80 mil product, if you ever see that and you see black, clearly we don't want that, it's already gone all the way to the scrim. 80 mil is a little more accepting of it, but as you get thinner and thinner, you know, those spots are not gonna weather like the rest of it. Knocking on wood, we've been weathering your TPO now we were always weathering it one time. We were running that other weather on there for a long time already. So we probably been weathering your product for 10 years or so. We've never had a failure. So they put a lot of good stuff in the cap of the product. It usually holds up. We run it for 4,000 hours. We had some in when I first got there, we were at like 10,000 hour mark. And, you know, R&D has the luxury of having multiple weatherometers and can run them that long. You know, even 4,000 hours takes up some time to run. And so, like I said, the specs at 4,000. And they had some in there at 10, 11, 12,000 hours, and we were running out of space. So, you know, I talked to TJ and some of the other guys, and they said, yeah, pull them.
Running it at double the requirement.
The radiant, yeah, the radiance too. Yeah, it only requires 35, and we run it at 70. So yeah, there's the vacuum. Your screen's getting plugged, would that cause it to? That wouldn't help anything, would it? Your screen backing up, plugged up?
Yeah.
Is it back? I know you guys were fighting backing up in the vent, right, lately?
Ever since startup
Yeah.
and our shutdown, yeah, it's been.
So staining, that's pretty well, you know, that's probably just some oil or grease in there, because later on we do have dye tool, getting on the sheet. Telescoping, so you guys ever fight that one in the winder? You guys getting a new winder? I know you got a new tunnel. I don't know about winder.
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, it's been talked about off and on for years.
It's that old jumbo mode down
Yeah.
there that keeps this one big.
What?
The jumbo, that's why I like this one.
Yeah, Bob Dawson's got a jumbo winder in. Very impressive, man. They made some of those rolls were like 1,700 feet long.
Yeah, that's what we make.
It was amazing. The problem with theirs was though, I don't know how yours is set up, they have carts that go underneath the line, you know, and, well, those carts had, for bearings, they just had the race in it, didn't have the ball bearing in it, so it was open in the center, it was crushing it. So they had to kind of fall back and punt, come back to it. But, this is still a good product, but when those guys go to roll it out on the roof, you can only imagine what that's gonna do, right? And then you got 100 feet that you're trying, you and another guy at the other end of it are trying to get straightened out. And there are techniques they can use. If you get enough air underneath there, it'll ride on a little air cushion and you can kind of get it straight. But you know, I don't know how many times you guys have been participating in the rollouts. One of your rolls all rolled out all the way. It's just massive. You know, with the modified bitumen, it's only about a 3-foot wide sheet. It's not that long, so two guys can kind of manage it. But something the size of what you guys make, it's very difficult. Okay, so it's the same deal with banding on the edge. That's where you got a thick edge, not a thick. You're thicker on the edge than you are in the center. That one I would think wouldn't happen very often, right? Just based on the way the die actually works internally. I would think you're more susceptible to being thick in the center than you are at the edges. You know, holes get plugged, things happen.
Well, plus it depends on, like that RV, you know, we're always decking on the sides. too.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. How wide is that sheet?
Right now it's 102.
Okay.
We run various sizes, so 114 down to 102.
Never a full 10-foot.
No.
Okay. So yeah, learn something else. All right, translucent cap. You guys ever seen something look like that? TJ said that it's usually due to the TiO2 not being enough, not having enough supply. The waviness, there's a really good example of that. So the two blue lines on there tells me that that's a BMI product, and I can't see the date code. I would say that's probably Cedar City. And one of the guys this morning picked up something in the background of this picture that's a no-no. You guys see it? Yeah, it's saying that cleaning up against that beam right there. I guess that's not an accepted practice.
Somebody's picky.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, those plants have no excuse on
They
space.
have
They got
more
plenty of
space.
space. You guys, I mean, you got to stuff it in any hole, opening you got out here. So that's a pretty good example of wrinkling. And then there's the die drill, of course. You guys fight that much?
Not as much.
One polymer seems to do it worse than the other.
See, now, like, mainly what we have is the die whiskers, and we have on RV, like, we don't, like, back on one of the old formulations, we had that, but then, like, now, it's just, we have the whiskers that build up on the die and come off.
Okay. So Gainesville was fighting this and a tremendous buildup inside their die, cat die, specifically, some in the core too. And so for the last 4 months, Pete, the TJ of Gainesville, Pete said, we're not going to run any INEOS, which means you guys and the other plants have to pick up and run the INEOS. And I just heard this morning they split that die, and they've just been running line on cell all this time. And there was still a little bit of buildup in there, but it was nowhere near what it was in INEOS. So I don't know how often you guys run INEOS.
We've been running it
Been
for
running for a month and a
one
half.
month and a half, 2 months now.
Yeah, no sense. So like I said, the other plants have got to consume that volume.
So that's why we're running so much of it. They just told us, oh, it's just an allotment, you guys have to run. Okay, truth comes out.
That is, no, that's a true statement. It's just they left out the part that it's not your plant's allotment.
Yes.
It's the GAF allotment.
Yeah.
And Gainesville's out of the picture, so everybody else has to pick up more. So,
I just wonder if it's like, they all run a lot faster than we do, and they're just getting more and more going through there. They're building up stuff that we don't, running slower or something else. Because we haven't had any trouble like that.
I wonder about Gainesville, I don't know how much faster they run than you guys.
I can't remember.
I know they're a little bit faster, but I don't know how much faster. If they got a bigger extruder too,
Yeah.
then I know they're a little bit bigger. I do know what Valdosta runs, and clearly that's where I spent most of my year this, 2024. So for 45 mil smooth, they're running 10-foot sheet, they're right around 60 feet a minute, pumping that stuff out. When it goes to split sheet, you guys know the challenges that your packaging it presents there. Right?
Weren't they wanting to like get up like 90?
Oh, sure. I mean, if you guys have ever met the plant manager down there, yeah, he would run 100 feet if he could. Daniel, he's a go-getter, that's for sure. He pushes it pretty hard.
No, I don't think you.
We've seen
That's
them RV.
Yeah.
Offset core. Does that ever happen to you guys?
Yeah.
I mean,
Is
that's
it on
just,
like the first couple wraps is when it happens?
well, that's operator error there. Like,
You just don't have the
don't have the
line
core in the
up.
right spot. So when the sheet takes off,
Okay, so,
On the main.
so the other side of this roll, almost see the core
Yeah.
sticking out.
Mhm.
I got you.
yeah. So like
I got
the cores on RV, we have a manual. We set them where they need to go. And,
Those manuals in the back of the picture there.
yeah.
It's a manual,
So that's just somebody
or
put it
jumbo load manuals.
in the wrong spot on the manual
And wound it up. See, I like to
and
use
wound
it.
up a full roll.
A lot of your, a lot of the pictures did come out here. So that's your jumbo manuals in the background.
That's probably Bob's.
Yeah, it's bomb spray right there for sure.
He didn't know.
He didn't know any better.
Dimpling lines in the core. You know, I mean, admittedly, we don't look at the core as much as we probably should. You know, when I say we, I mean the company as a whole. The only line I've seen that would have a decent inspection spot would be Valdosta. I still don't understand why the sheet does this. So it comes out of the cap and it drops down, then it comes up and goes over this walkway, then back down, and then with a fleece laminator and onto the finish rack. So they do have a good spot where you can stand underneath there and shine a light and actually see the core. But you know, it's not something that we look at a lot. Contractors probably don't see it at all. They might see it on your SA product just because we got to flip the sheet a little bit and yank off the release liner. But on a typical TPO, I doubt that they really pay much attention to the core. But clearly it's important. You know, you definitely want a sealed product all the way around. I think that was caused from the low material in that spot. Yeah, thin areas on the sheet. So you got a little screen bubble through there. Picture on that one. So then we start talking about the fleece stuff there. And end marks. You guys know what causes that one?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the lines from the
Yeah.
core, the tail, or on the core?
So every roll you produce has that. Right? Some are more severe than the others, but it's just because of the way it's wrapped. Right? You get that first wrap, and you got that offset, and just like the gauge thing, it just keeps building up and building up. And that's we did see that down in Valdosta on one of their sheets. They backed the tension off a little bit and it went away. But, you know, it's in every sheet that every TPO plant makes just because of the way we lined it up. It'll get you a phone call. New Columbia had some stuff that looked similar to that, I think last year, and it was a new contractor, and they were all up in arms about it. We started talking to TJ and some of the others, and I said, yeah, every roll has that in it. You just can't see it sometimes. It's just a part of the process. Maybe you do see it that severe, you guys will back the tension off a little bit, or something like that.
That bead goes on there.
Yeah, that's new one.
Easy there. Pockets. Flammable, right?
wasn't it?
Trying to blame us for that.
No.
Alright, so this one kinda falls in line with
There's plenty of other things.
the bigger objective this year from our quality group is delivered quality, right? You guys can do everything right, get it on the trucks, everything's good. Warehouse does something like that, loads it on a truck, gets to the customer, and all of a sudden, the whole plant's got a black eye, when clearly it was done in transport somewhere. So we're at the mercy of a lot of our carriers, that's why they tried to bring that, standard industries hauler into the mix, so we can kind of control that. But a lot of your product, not your product, but a lot of other products are stored outside warehouses, so you're at the mercy of that warehouse. You guys know anything that goes LTL, which I doubt you guys do. We'll go to a station, it'll get offloaded, it'll get loaded on another trailer, so the potential for that happening is pretty great. Luckily for you guys, most of your stuff goes straight to a job site. You know, I know some probably goes into distribution, but not a whole lot. Yours is going usually straight to the job. Funny thing about the standard industry, so Valdosta we're gonna make their first shipment, TPO, first truckload shipment, right? Now you guys might have seen the picture of them standing in front of that truck, on the thing. Alright, so they loaded that truck 3 days in advance, 3 days before it had to leave, right? Had it loaded. First driver comes in, he doesn't have a hazmat endorsement, so he can't haul it because it's got the glue on there, right? Second guy comes in, same thing, right? Third guy comes in, he's got all the right stuff. So they were excited. Instead of hooking onto the trailer, he just drives to the back of the lot and takes his 10-hour nap, right? Which wasn't a big problem, because he still had time. Gets up next morning, hooks on, starts down to the customer, gets halfway there, realizes he don't have his wallet. Turns around, goes back to Valdosta. I guess he found it laying in the parking lot or something there. Then picks up his wallet and drives back to the customer, and they were 3 hours late getting to the job site. No control of the plant. The plant had that truck loaded 3 days in advance, not 3 hours, 3 full days in advance. And so that's some of the stuff that Joey Ferraro was really been talking about in Randy's meetings and in our phone calls about delivered quality, what we can do better. Because you guys can do everything right, make the perfect roll, perfect packaging, but then somebody downstream from you guys could do something like that. And then, there's some. I guess something like that was probably like we were seeing with those RV rolls where they were loading in a trailer or everything was too close and they're nicking it with a skid or something. And color lines. Let's show what they're doing there. You guys see them 3 dark lines there?
Yeah.
So what would cause that? I mean, I was clear I got the answer. Like just a line like that.
If that was here, I would say it's like from the dye lines from where we deckled.
Or yeah.
Well, just last week, because the feeder wasn't working correctly.
Yeah.
We had to switch.
TR2.
No, it was our
No,
color
color
concentrate.
So it's carved on one side of the sheet? Or
Yeah,
is
both
it-
sides actually had that on it.
It wasn't running its set point really. It was
Okay.
running like 4 pounds short.
Well, everything's shoulder was
Well,
running good, but
The mass flow kept dropping out of the feeder basically,
Yeah.
so it started off good and just kept dying out.
You know, some of those, I know everybody struggles to run mag, right? Powder mag, anyway. I don't know if they've talked to you guys or not, but Jake, the process engineer in New Columbia, they had that same issue. And he actually put the pipe coming from the receiver down to the feeder. It's got an aerator in it. And so it actually has air in there and keeps it from getting clogged up or getting stuffed up. I know Gainesville fought that for a long time, and they're looking at putting in a similar pipe. I don't know if you guys fight that or not, build up in the pipe or somewhere along the line there, but that's the fix that seems to be working for everybody. That's pretty much it. And so, like I said, I didn't know if you guys had ever seen this before. clearly you've seen some of those pictures before, because you've lived it, you know, but, and that's what I mean, the last portion of the day, we'll just walk the line, start back in the material handling room, talk about some of the challenges that are back there. Who's the material guys? Me and you. You guys are the ones to make sure the wand goes in the right box, all that jazz. What about the silos? You guys do much with that too?
Yeah, I mean, it's the rail car unloading.
Build up a rail car again.
Okay. You guys hardly don't get bulk trucks, right? You
No,
guys-
hardly ever. Probably twice in
Last one
12
I remember
years.
was
Yeah, I don't remember ever getting them, but I know we did, I just don't.
John DeFur was still here.
I know we were getting them that one time for, I don't know what the reason was.
That's right.
They'd ordered them or something, we had a weekend's worth, 2 or 3 days worth, and then, I think I've done it twice.
Since I've been here, we've shipped more bulk trucks out than we've got in.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah,
I think
that's
we
what
were
you're
filling-
remembering.
We were filling the
We were
bulk.
filling them for Gainesville
That's right.
because of there's a flood. I think it was like a hurricane or something, and a lot of the CA-10A cars were flooded out.
Really?
So we had to ship truckloads down to Gainesville.
But even with that, like, we didn't do anything. They just came in, they hooked up to our line, and they blew it.
And they hooked up to the rail car actually.
Well, okay, yep, I remember that now. Yep.
Oh, they transload straight from the rail car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard, we've had similar situations, I worked at the compounder. Sometimes we would get bulk trucks in, but sometimes it'd be an issue with the rail car somewhere in the city, in the country. You know, the only way we could get resin was to, put it in a bulk truck and truck it in. And those guys were notorious for causing our stringers, angel hairs, tails. You got, I know angel hair seems to be the common phrase at GAF. But, inevitably, we'd get stringers, and we'd come back to a bulk driver, show up on a Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock, wanting to get home at night. He jacks that pressure up, shoves that material in there. You know what that shear does to it. You don't take much about that Molly Pro, especially stuff like that. You know, like I said, let's hit each section of the line. I need to add the unwind station to my little original thing there. So, material room, unwind, cap, core, and your packaging. Just talking through some common things. I know most of you guys probably know the entire line, or maybe you only know your section of the line. So, like I said, I learned some stuff this morning in our walkthrough, and I'll probably learn some more, listening to each of you guys talk about the rest of your section. If you guys are good, we'll hit the floor. We'll try to cut it off with about 10 minutes or so to go, and then I'll just come up here and ask you guys for feedback.